Hello friends, today topic is respiration in organisms. Are you ready? Let's start. We eat food to build and maintain our body and to get energy for carrying out all life activities. We exercise or run fast, we start breathing faster. What is respiration? Living beings take in air rich in oxygen and give out air rich in carbon dioxide. The taking in of oxygen rich air into our body is called inhalation. The giving out of air rich in carbon dioxide is called exhalation. Inhalation and exhalation are collectively called breathing. The oxygen inhaled is used by all the cells in the body to break down food and release energy. Respiration is the process of using oxygen to break down of food to release energy, carbon dioxide and water. Respiration takes place in three phases: external respiration, internal respiration, cellular respiration. Difference between respiration and breathing. Respiration, there is release of energy at the end. Breathing, there is no release of energy. Respiration, it is an intercircular process. Breathing, it is an extracircular process. It is a biochemical process involving the breakdown of food. It is a physical process involving inhalation and exhalation. Organs for breathing in animals. Different animals have different organs and mechanisms for the exchange of gases through the skin, through the air holes, through the gills, through the lungs. Through the skin. In animals that live in soil such as earthworms and leeches, the exchange of gases take place through the slimy surface of the skin. The walls of the skin in earthworms allow gases exchange. The skin is rich in blood vessels. The blood transports the gases throughout the body. Through air holes, in insects such as grasshoppers and cockroaches, exchange of gases occurs through small opening or pores called spiracles present on the sides of the body. A network of these pores is connected with air tubes called trachea, which carry the oxygen to different parts of the body. Carbon dioxide diffuses out through the trachea and exits through the spiracles. Through gills. Aquatic animals like fish live in water and gets oxygen which is dissolved in water. Fish have a special structure called gills on the either side of their mouth. The water along with dissolved oxygen enters the mouth and the absorption of oxygen takes place through the gills and carbon dioxide diffuses into the water which is released through the opening in the gills. Through lungs. Amphibians like frogs, newts, and salamander are both aquatic and terrestrial. Frogs have lungs but they use their skin for the exchange of gases when in water. They use their lungs when on land. Respiration to the lungs is known as pulmonary respiration, and respiration to the skin is known as cutaneous respiration. When at rest or floating on water, the frog takes in air through its nostrils into the buccal cavity. The gases exchange takes place through its lining of the buccal cavity. This method of respiration is known as buccal respiration. Respiratory system in human beings. The human respiratory system is a system of organs responsible for inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide in humans. When air is inhaled, it passes through our nostrils and enters the nasal cavity. The nasal cavity. The air enters the windpipe trachea. The windpipe branches into two smaller tubes called bronchi. Each bronchus enters into a lung. The windpipe branches into two smaller tubes called bronchi. Each bronchus enters into a lung. In the lungs, each bronchus branches out into smaller tubes called bronchioles. At the end of these tubes, there are tiny air sacs called alveoli. The walls of the alveoli are lined with a network of blood vessels and capillaries to facilitate the exchange of gases. Lungs are present in the chest cavity, which is surrounded by ribs on the sides. The ribs form a cage-like structure called the rib cage. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm forms the base of the rib cage. The dome-shaped diaphragm separates the stomach and the other organs of the digestive system from the chest cavity. The organs for breathing in humans: nasal cavity, trachea, bronchi, alveolus, lungs, diaphragm. Mechanism of breathing. During inhalation, diaphragm contracts. During exhalation, diaphragm relaxes. During inhalation, the diaphragm contracts and moves down. The rib cage moves upwards and outwards. This causes the volume inside the chest cavity to increase and reduce the pressure inside it. When the pressure inside the lungs gets reduced, the air from outside rushes into the lungs. During exhalation, the diaphragm relaxes as it moves up and returns to its normal dome shape. The rib cage also returns back to its normal position. This reduces the volume within the chest cavity. The reduction in volume inside the lungs increases the pressure inside it. Thus, air is expelled out. The role of each respiratory organ. Starting from the organ the air enters in: nasal cavity. It helps in filtering air and prevents the entry of harmful substances. Trachea. It is also called the windpipe and helps in the movement of air. Bronchi. It is the division of trachea and enters each of the lungs. These are present in the chest cavity. Inside lungs, the bronchi branches into bronchioles, which have alveoli at the end. Alveoli. These are thin, tiny air sacs that help in the exchange of gases. Other structures which support breathing: ribs. These help in the protection of the chest cavity and the process of inhalation and exhalation. Intercostal muscles. These muscles help in the process of inhalation and exhalation. Diaphragm muscles. These muscles make the floor of the chest cavity and help in the process of inhalation and exhalation. Exchange of gases. Internal respiration. Each alveolus is surrounded by tiny blood vessels called capillaries. The exchange of gases takes place between the alveoli of the lungs and the capillaries surrounding it. Each lung contains millions of alveoli which produce a large surface of area to help in the exchange of gases. By inhaling, the oxygen from the alveoli diffuses into the blood in the capillaries. The carbon dioxide present in the blood also passes out of the blood into the alveolus, which is then exhaled. Alveoli are the structural units of the lungs. Cellular respiration. The oxygen that enters the capillaries from the alveoli enters the red blood cells of the blood. The RBC contains a protein called hemoglobin which binds with the oxygen and forms a compound called oxohemoglobin. Oxohemoglobin is carried through the blood to all the cells of the body. In the cells, oxygen is released from the oxohemoglobin. Cells use this oxygen to break down glucose to form carbon dioxide and water. During this process, energy is released, which is used for the movement of muscles, for the growth and repair of cells, for bringing about chemical reactions, and so on. Glucose plus oxygen is equals to water plus carbon dioxide plus energy. The carbon dioxide is generated diffuses into the blood. The blood carries it back to the lungs, where it is expelled during exhalation. Aerobic and anaerobic respiration. When food is broken down in the presence of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. Glucose plus oxygen is equals to carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Carbon dioxide is liberated and water is used up for other cellular functions. Aerobic respiration is the most common type of respiration exhibited by most organisms. It is also the most efficient form of respiration. Food can also be broken down in the absence of oxygen, which is called anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration is exhibited in some organisms such as yeast and certain bacteria. Glucose is equals to alcohol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. Anaerobic respiration takes place only for short duration. Aerobic respiration produces more energy than anaerobic respiration. The muscle cells in our body normally carry out aerobic respiration, but when we run fast or exercise vigorously, the muscle cells work faster and require more energy. To meet this energy demand, the muscle cells switch over to anaerobic respiration. But in these cases, instead of alcohol, lactic acid is produced. The partial breakdown of glucose produces lactic acid. Glucose is equals to lactic acid plus energy. Respiration in plants. Plants also respire by taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. The leaves of most plants have tiny pores called stomata on the underside. Stomata bring about the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in plant cells. Guard cells on either side of the stomata regulate their opening and closing. Aerobic respiration in plants. The rate of exchange of gases in plants is much slower than in animals. The energy released during respiration is used by the organisms, the rest is lost as heat. All other living cells of plants, the root also need to breathe to produce energy. The spaces between the soil particles traps the air and this air is utilized by the plant's roots. Due to this reason, farmers and gardeners frequently turn around the soil so that fresh air particles can get trapped in the soil. Difference between respiration and photosynthesis. Photosynthesis definition. It is the process by which plants prepare their own food and liberate oxygen in the presence of sunlight, chlorophyll, and water. Respiration definition. It is the process of breakdown glucose by the usage of oxygen into carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Photosynthesis equation. Carbon dioxide plus water plus sunlight equal to glucose plus oxygen. Respiration equation. Glucose plus oxygen equal to carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Photosynthesis takes place during daytime. Respiration takes place during all the time and it is a continuous process. The photosynthesis structures involved leaves, stem, roots. Respiration structures involved stomata, roots, lenticles of stem bark, general body surfaces. Respiration in organisms. Keywords. Spiracles. Small opening on the sides of the bodies of insects through which the exchange of gases takes place. Trachea in insects. Air tubes that are connected to a network of spiracles and that carry the oxygen to different parts of the body of an insect. Trachea, windpipe, a tube that connects the pharynx and larynx to the lungs. Bronchi, tubes that branch out from the trachea and enters each lungs. Alveoli, tiny air sacs present at the end of the bronchioles in the human lungs. Diaphragm, a large muscular sheet that separates the chest cavity from the stomach and other digestive organs. Aerobic respiration, respiration that takes place in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration, respiration that takes place in the absence of oxygen. Stomata, small pores in the cells of leaves of plants through which the exchange of gases takes place. Respiration in organism summary. Respiration types. Aerobic, anaerobic. Aerobic in human beings, plants, fish, insects, platform. Anaerobic example. Yeast, skeletal muscles in humans. Aerobic in human beings through lungs. Plants through stomata. Fish through gills. Insects through spiracles and trachea. Platforms through skin. Parts involved and process involved. Parts involved: nasal passage, trachea, lungs, ribcage, diaphragm and muscles. Process involved: inhalation and exhalation. Nasal passage helps in filtering air. Trachea acts as windpipe. Lungs help in exchange of gases. Ribs and diaphragm and muscles help in increase or decrease the size of the chest cavity. Process involved: breathing,